Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Sosbans and Sidesteps podcast. Joining me, Big M, as always, the one and only Mr. HG. Good evening, my friend. How are you?
Good evening, Mark. I'm just keeping myself happy by my choice of shirts that I'm wearing. For audio listeners, I'm wearing a very flowery Stade Francais shirt to distract me from all of the sadness that dogs me in the rest of my life.
Wow, you couldn't have asked for a better intro. And join us as a special guest from Crease 16, Charlie Evans. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Good to make my debut on here, and I'll take that violin off you as well, Huw. Don't need it for the rest of the day.
No, certainly don't. So, Charlie, first comer, part of Crease 16. I'd like to say I know you fairly well. Give us a bit of info on you. What's your remake with Crease?
Yeah, so I joined the Crease board in the last summer. So just come up to my first full season. I take a bit of a marketing lead on there. So those of you that are members, hopefully a lot of you that are listening and watching, I run the newsletter that we do every month, which goes out on the 16th. So there's a bit of a clue there. And we've been busy doing lots of work, building more dialogue with the club, working quite closely with them on a number of other projects as well, which hopefully everyone will start seeing in the coming months. But no, it's been really great, sort of getting a closer relationship with our fans, who are best fans by far, although I'm biased. But yeah, it's just great to be able to give something back to the club I've supported for my entire life, really.
Happy days. Who do I have anything to ask the man before we dive in?
No, you put me on the spot there. I didn't have any questions prepared.
Oh no, I thought you'd had at least one. Come on, you're slacking tonight already.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It's been a busy.
Come on, we've got
days.
tons to talk about, Mark. Come on, get move on.
Okay, so first thing we have a game to discuss, but before that game happened, something magical happened on Friday night. We qualified for next season's Champions Cup, and of course, the resulting top 8 playoffs for the United Rugby Championship. Woohoo! Yay!
Woohoo, yay!
Big whoop.
Big whoop. So, Charlie, how do you feel about top 8? Is it everything that you imagined it'd be?
I mean, we could be a lot higher in the top 8, of course, but yeah. I mean,
everybody says that. Absolutely, everybody that I've spoken to people at the Scarlets, I've spoken to other fans. The first thing you say is like top 8, and everyone says could have been higher.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look back at the season and a lot of the games that we let slip, I'm thinking even Benetton drawing away opening game, Ospreys just before Christmas. There were a lot of points that we dropped that we should have won, but I'm really happy for the guys that it didn't impact on the overall goal. We managed to squeeze in still, and they've come on leaps and bounds this year compared to last year. I remember sitting at home watching the South Africa tour at the start of last season when we were shipping 50 odd points both games, I think it was, and just thinking where's this team going from here. And we've recruited really smartly, and all of those guys have played a huge part this season, and I'm sure we'll talk about them later on. But it's kind of back where we belong, really, if I'm being honest. We've always had a great pedigree in the major European competition, and it's been far too long playing in some of those big games. I mean, growing up watching, the famous Bath and Leicester clashes in 2002, the win against Toulouse in 2006, we've got a lot of history in there, and it's great to be back at the top table. And it's amazing for our fans, and I hope we get a really nice draw and some good away trips as part of it for them to enjoy.
100%.
It's the fixtures. I'm now so looking forward to it. For me, Champions Cup is bigger than top 8 because without being all doom and gloom, I'm not sure we're going to win the URC.
Huw, come on!
I mean,
you have little faith.
We'll get to the semi-final, but getting into the Champions Cup, and now, like you said, I want to see what draws we're going to get. I'd rather get battered by Toulouse than beat Newcastle away. Like I just would. There's more glamour to it being on the big stage, flying the flag for Welsh rugby. I'm sure all Welsh fans will back us all the way next season. And yeah, it's just I think it's just reward because am I still visible? My phone just made a noise.
There you are. You're still
Yeah,
there.
cool.
You're fine. We still hear you.
Cool. So I think it's fair for what we've been this season. I think if I look at the teams in and around us, I look at the teams below us, and I think probably been on balance better than them. And then I look at a couple of teams above us, and I think we're in and around them. You know, Edinburgh is above us. Like for example, I think we're probably at least as good as Edinburgh, if not better. And if you look back on our season now, we've played 23 games. We've won 11 and drawn 1. So we've got exactly a 50% record. And I think that's kind of fair as to where we are. And I think, we'll talk about it more on maybe a season review pod, but just do I feel like we've overperformed? No, I think that we've gotten where we should be. And I think that there is still room for growth and things to improve on next season, despite all the things that we have done well this season. So I'm happy. I'm more happy that it was all sewn up before we had to play the Sharks, and we could just sit back and enjoy that game. Although I was a Stormers fan on Friday night, and God, that is stressful. Like I was watching that game, like, will you just beat these? And they made hard work of it, but got there in the end. Oh, and then I was like watching Benetton Munster, like just not a 4 tries all draw. And I was like, okay, they're in the lead by 4. You can't draw when you're 4 ahead. And like just watching it like that. So stress is over as far as I'm concerned. And I'm a happy Scarlets fan.
And there we go on it. We got a long way round to saying happy Scarlets fan who. Yeah, I think we're all ecstatic to have the Champions Cup back in our lives. I just want whoever wins out of Northampton and Bordeaux to just rock up at the park next season. That's the only game I want to see. We are the best. We want to challenge ourselves up against the best. That's plain and simple what I want. So, Dwayne Peel's first league knockout. He's had a bit of fun. He dabbled in Europe, but how do you think he's going to cope? It's obviously new ground for him as a head coach.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Leinster away here in the quarterfinal, yeah.
Yeah.
We do that prediction now or at the end?
We'll have a just dabble. How we think? How do you think Dwayne's going to do?
I think. Well, I don't think he's going to overthink it. He's been doing pretty much the same thing all season. Although to be fair, I will say that in the run in, we did start changing it up. We did start seeing a few new moves. We started seeing a couple of different tactics that basically coincided with Costello coming back in the team. And so I think he'll just keep doing what you're doing. And let's just say to the boys, when we interviewed Matthias last week.
Great interview, by the way. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Really insightful.
If anybody hasn't watched it or listened to it, he was very forthcoming. He gave away lots of secrets, which was great.
The things you didn't understand, my friend.
So it just feels like the camp's in a happy place. Feels like they want to keep playing games. Feels like they'd like to play a game every week. And they're just they're not afraid of anybody, They just go, yeah, we're decent. We'll give anybody a game, and we will. So in terms of how Dwayne's going to face it, look, he's already gotten us to a Challenge Cup semi-final. So I think he'll be all right. Look, we've got obviously going away to top of the league, but I think he'll just keep doing what's got us here so far.
Happy days. That sounds like a plan. I think we'll do very well. Reign in Pro 12 and URC champs has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
On to the actual game itself. 12-3. It is a loss, but it's a result that in the end suited everyone. We managed to keep, a nice Northern Hemisphere draw in the quarterfinals. I know a lot of Edinburgh fans are slowly wishing us a painful death. But yeah, so like I said, we knew top 8 was wrapped up. So we really going into this game, it was more about positions, and I think that dictated a lot of play. Like I don't think we went out with our usual gusto of, let's try and score as many tries as we can. Let's try and get points on the board, because let's face it, I think we've kicked more three-pointers than anyone else this season. I could be wrong on that fact.
No, factually true.
Factually true. Ooh, that's a first. Hey. So, Huw, we'll come back to you this time. What do you think of the game as a whole?
I was dying for it to be 0-0. When it got to half an hour and it was 0-0, I was like, please finish as 0-0, because if it had, I'd have insisted on doing a 2-hour special on it. I thought, look, obviously I was watching it as a fan, and being an unstressful watch, because it kind of didn't matter what the result was. And I thought, in defense, the Sharks gave us no bother whatsoever. They according to, depending on which source you look at, 0 line breaks by the Sharks. So I thought we handled them, Springboks who, and that was fine. I thought we had the better moments in attack. We had line breaks, obviously the Fafita and the Archie Hughes one just didn't pay off. Clearly, the man with the sprinkler machine had gone a bit mad on the pitch before kickoff, and it was absolutely drenched, and the ball, like, both teams couldn't hang on to the ball. So there's clearly something gone on there. It's not, they haven't just forgotten how to hold a ball. Like, something that we don't know. Maybe it's the humidity down in Durban. I'm sure someone will tell us. But I thought physically we dealt with them. I thought Costello, obviously another great drop goal, 2 games in a row. What, off the left foot this time? And
happy days.
I thought Joe Roberts, what was it? 4 line breaks, 6 defenders beaten, top meters. He's finished the season in great form, as we know that he's capable of. That's just him getting back to him, basically. So I kind of enjoyed it, honestly, even though there was no tries. But I'm a bit of a purist, I'll be honest.
Yeah. I think for me, one of the best games I can actually remember watching, and I hate to say that it doesn't actually involve the Scarlets, it was a Wasps Dragons, way back when it was New Puck, when it was a 3-3 draw. I think it might have been the Power Gen Cup. And I can remember watching that game, and I was just glued to it all the way through. But yeah, great games don't need thousands of points or even dozens of points.
No, it's just the drama, isn't it? And it was funny, like, to your point, Huw, like, it was weird going into the game knowing that we didn't really have to do anything to sort of get out of it what we wanted. But that said, I thought the boys went about it in a really, like, disciplined, professional way. You can see their approach was to really control the game, and the conditions were surprisingly difficult. Like, there was a real kind of pattern of the Sharks sort of playing a very physical, direct game through Easthuizen, through their Springboks in the forwards, getting into our half, our 22, and then coughing it up, and then Archie doing a box kick down pitch, and off we go again, basically. But yeah, I thought our halfbacks managed the game really well. And, on this tour, I think Archie's been, like, really impressive. Like, we've all been talking about how he needs a bit more game time this season, and now he's sort of been thrown in the deep end, and he's shown he can swim. And, I think it's great for him. Obviously the injury he had at the start of the season would have, like, set him back a little bit, but yeah, I thought he was fantastic. I thought Henry Thomas gets through so much work, and at scrum time, they had a full Springbok front row, and he was handling it without any bother at all, despite being quite slippery underfoot as well. So yeah, I thought it was just a really, measured, organized performance. And, the defense has been phenomenal this year, meeting people at the line, the choice of tackle technique as well throughout all the games I've watched has been really impressive. And yeah, given all the names on the team sheet, the Sharks were pretty disappointing, really. They look like a pretty disorganized squad, if I'm being honest.
They're rubbish.
Yeah.
I can't believe they're 3rd in the league. I've watched them a few times this season. They're awful. It's the way they keep dragging out wins is really frustrating. When you mentioned Easthuizen, I saw Mark smile, and I know why he smiled.
Oh, we're going to
Sammy absolutely put him into next week with 1 tackle.
He did, didn't he?
Oh my God.
I cheered that like it was a try. I was like,
yes. Like for me, I very rarely get overly animated when I'm not in the ground. And there was a couple of times, the Fafita break and that tackle, I was just screaming, Sorry! Like, oh my God, it was just an awesome moment. And now back to Charlie. I'm really glad you brought up that South African front row. So was it Oxenche, Bongi on Benambi, and Vincent Koch, and they got pushed past the limits. I mean, fair play. Hepburn, look, he came in with a great reputation. He wasn't, he wasn't great start of the season.
He
And
wasn't. His scrummaging was a real worry for the first 10 games.
Especially, post Six Nations, he has been a revelation, really showing that form that, got him international caps. They more than held their own. We got a shunt on. It was a really, really good battle to come into because, they had even Epsbeth in the boiler house as well. And, South African locks, as standard, don't come very small. But, you don't get much bigger than them. You don't get much less weight than, for the start in, South Africa. Well, it depends on how you work out the bombs. So before of, South Africa's front five. So that was an amazing effort by the boys. I just need to keep talking about Sammy. He has been amazing since coming back. I mean, what can't this boy do? Like, we already knew he couldn't do it, but it seems as though he's taken things up a level again. And I think it was one of the boys I mentioned in the group in our group chat. It was like, is this game at altitude? I was like, well, don't think so. Sammy just put in a 50-meter kick. It's like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, and he just kept doing it. And just looking back over the game, since he's come back, everything seems to be a higher gear. There's been a bit of rustiness, as you'd expect, but
the centers look better.
Centers always look better. You gotta add Johnny Williams coming back. When you don't get me wrong, Eddie James he could be generational. He's got a skill set as a 12 that we haven't seen in Wales for a very long time. But Johnny, he's just that physical presence. He just puts you over the gain line. And, when you've got someone that will put the ball in your hands in front of you, not, static start or turning around.
He can play the ball really close to the line as well. When you get that move where all teams do, get the ball to the 12 and it's either a crash or a pullback, he can do it very late. Both him and Eddie are great at it. So it's something he deserves credit for. On form, the best centre partnership in Wales by a long way.
Oh, definitely. I think Johnny's been phenomenal this year. He's really added a lot of other elements to his game, and he's clearly not just a Bosch merchant. Like, when he plays 13, you can really see like the extra gas that he has, which you don't see enough of when he's playing at 12, hitting it up. But some of the passing he was doing against Leinster a few weeks back was ridiculous. He was doing 20, 30-yard passes over players' heads, whilst running at full pelt, and they were going to hand to, Tommy Rodge and co outside. And yes, phenomenal player. And for me, he's got to be on the tour to Japan in the summer. He's definitely earned his place back in the Wales squad, without a doubt.
Speaking of Tommy Rodge, he was walking around looking like a World War I veteran with a bandage under his helmet and things. But he had a few bombs to defuse in the first half as well. They kicked, because a Sharks tactic is they go aerial to Mapimpi, and Mapimpi was on his wing, and I thought Tom did a great job dealing with it. So that was something I wasn't worried about. That's another, obviously, World Cup winning Springbok that one of our boys has just dealt with. I will just say on Archie, obviously, like, it's great to see him get game time and stuff. He did have one particularly poor brain fart where we got a penalty off a line out or a scrum, and he tapped it, gave it to Johnny, and Johnny kicked it. Like, we would have been better just kicking that to touch, boys. Like, that's not your finest moment, but we'll let him off. Well,
this is probably going to go over the heads of probably the older generation, but I like to think of young players like Pokemon and the old Pokemon games you have. When you put them on for a minute and then just take them off, they don't gain a lot of experience. They've got to be on it. They've got to do the battle themselves to get those experience points, and that is something that is very clearly missing from Archie's game. He's got so much talent. I mean, you can see everything is in this boy's locker. It just needs that game time at this level. Not just SRC. He needs to be in URC Champions Cup games. I think Wales call right now is a bit too soon. Start of the season, I thought he was going to fly it off, and have obviously injury and then selection issues. I've changed my stance on that. So back into the centres. We didn't get a chance to talk too much about Joe Roberts earlier, but I think now is really the time. We've always known defensively he is unreal. I mean, was it last year or the year before when he was up against Ioan, I think, at the park, and he just put him in his pocket, and it's just beautiful just watching players, watching how they cut into the line, how they assess what's going on in the game, and how he can see things folding out, and he just makes those choices. When you've got to play it out wide on his own, if he is our last man, when to approach, when to hold back, when to cut in, when to bite. It's just beautiful to watch him play.
When to go and give and do it at the right time.
Exactly.
No, I haven't. There's no player that I watch regularly that I more often think he's beaten, and then he's not beaten. Like I think, oh, fair play, they've gone past him there, and they, oh no, he's made the tackle, it's fine. Like it's amazing the way he just stays in the fight defensively and prevents bad things from happening.
It is and we knew he had pace because what was it, the Munster try?
But both him and Blair, the characteristic thing about their pace is that they don't quit. A lot of the time, especially with Welsh players, like they feel a hand on them and they go down. They go, oh, I'm tackled, and they quit. Joe and Blair in particular, the two players where they feel someone get a touch on them and they go, no, I'm not going down, and fight it off and keep going. That's kind of like one of Joe's specialities, and just one of many things that I enjoy watching about him.
Yeah, so a nice example of that was that Munster try where he cut the line and he had that angle all the way through, and he'd done like a triple Selko or whatever the hell you want to call it before popping over the line. And then Blair, this try is actually in the try of the season, which we'll come on to later, against the Bulls, where he had sort of high shot wrap around the neck, and he just sort of spun around and just kept going, which is brilliant. And that is what we want. We want players of that kind. We want players that never say die, and you want those boys that they want to play for the shirt. And
unless they're talking to die, obviously.
Obviously. And these seem to be two boys that Joe is a local boy. He's Barryport, Fletchley Schools. He's come through it all, and obviously we've given Blair this opportunity, and he seems to really want it and have a lot of love for the club at the minute, which is great to see, especially with these boys that we're pulling in, the Welsh qualified boys we're pulling in from overseas or even just over the border in England. It's great to see him. Like I love the way Tane Plumtree speaks whenever he's got so much admiration for the club. That interview where he was alongside James Ratty, I still laugh about it now. It was awesome.
Yeah, you get the feeling Tane's like a bit of a character behind the scenes, and like must lead a lot of the sort of mischievous behaviour, like on the buses and on the airports and stuff. I think, I love Tane. I think he's a great player. He's really taken on all the feedback he's had this year, and he's becoming like a really, really important player for us. And going back to Joe Roberts as well, he obviously had that terrible knee injury and was out for a really long time, just at the wrong time as well. And I feel like it did take him quite a bit of time to get back into his groove, but the last few games he's been phenomenal. And I love the way he just has that gliding speed. It's not too frantic. He just kind of just takes the line, lets his thinking do the work, and he just glides around defenders. And what you were saying earlier, Mark, was bang on. He just makes like great decisions, both in defense and attack, and that's all you want your 13 to do, right? Just need to truck it up, fine. Need to get outside, fine. Even kick it long, fine. He can do all of that. He's a real asset for us and longer term for Wales as well, 100%. And Blair, like, he's just absolutely come out of nowhere, and I was there at the Zebra game when he scored that try, and he's just been. And I was also at the Cardiff game when he made that tackle. I was right there in the corner when he made it, and how big a tackle was that in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah.
When he's at the table, he's been phenomenal, and like you were saying, he has such a low center of gravity, and I think he's deceptively really strong as well. I think a lot of players like underestimate, just because of his size, how difficult he is to actually get to the deck, and those extra meters and extra time he's just keeping it up just really help the back row get around and help the team like align for the next play as well. So yes, a great find.
So something I was going to bring up a little bit later on, probably actually not for a couple of weeks, but since we're talking about the back row, we talk a bit about Tane there. So we spoke a lot early in the season about Tane and Via in the same back row not working very well. I still think there is a bit of a balance issue, but do we have to admit that they get on. It can work to an extent.
It's okay. I still think that the best we've seen Tane play was when he had Carwyn Suapalotu with him. But we're seeing Vaya doing Vaya. I think that's working. Obviously, he's popping up as the best edge forward in Wales, to be honest. And obviously, he had that incredible break, and he's just left the like Sharks World Cup winning backs for dead. So obviously, that's going okay. And Tane is playing well. There's no doubt about that. We're not seeing the most razzle dazzle from him, which he was doing when he first arrived. So it's okay. I would say that they've found a way to make it work between them. But I think I still like the idea of having one on the bench and swapping them over on 50 odd minutes, because I just think the impact that can have on a game. But it's not as we were really annoyed by it earlier in the season. I'm not as annoyed by it now.
No, I mean, I think now that Carwyn is no longer an option, that kind of made me. Obviously, I was angry for Carwyn leaving, but obviously made me less annoyed at the choice of them, because I don't really see Jared or Dan Davis of filling that role. Maybe Ben Williams, once he's back fit and now into the full-time senior squad, he could, because we saw how great of a player he was last season. So when he's had another year or so to develop on that. Before we round out, any other star players that we haven't mentioned yet?
I'd say Josh, just Josh's leadership again. He's been phenomenal, and it just goes to show, like, if he can just keep that fitness and keep his knees in place and all of that, how important a player he is for us, and how all the players follow him, and how he makes good decisions on the pitch as well. I think he's been phenomenal this year, almost like a new signing as well in itself, right? The amount of games he's managed to fit in this year.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So to wind up the Sharks chat, sorry, shall we just have a quick watch of Sammy's drop goal just to enjoy it?
Oh yeah, love a drop goal.
Here we go. So I didn't realize it was actually under advantage already, which kind of makes it less remarkable. But dummy on the right, slot it with the left. No problem at all. No problem at all. That was the only points we scored all game.
It was, but they were the best points of the game. So, you can't
definitely
go wrong there.
So it was a moral victory for the Scarlets once again.
Yeah, always.
Always. He's stealing my lines, this boy is. What's going on? Okay, so that was the Saturday afternoon. Dark and doomy times then started to filter in. We had some news in the past 48 hours regarding the new PRA, or should I say the old PRA, with the notice to remove a region. I mean, that's the notice that was publicized by Wales Online that was being given. The statement that's come out from the WRU since has stated, we will not return to four equally funded regions. Now, obviously, that leaves a lot up to interpretation. Obviously, it's hard for us fans because obviously we don't know the intricacies. So, first off, Huw, I'll come to you. You haven't lived in. You thankfully probably haven't lived in Wales. You haven't lived the day to day of people constantly on you in your face, just talking about the same thing constantly, with the negativity that comes with being in Wales and Welsh rugby. So how did you take this? Because I was, to say angry would be an understatement.
Well, yeah, because the news broke really late at night, didn't it? So I saw it as I was going to bed, and part of me was just trying to ignore it, pretend it wasn't happening. Part of me was just couldn't help but lie there thinking about it. And obviously, as you do, I was going to use the word survival instincts there. That's not really the fair way to describe it, but thinking about all the reasons why the Scarlets would never cease to exist and things. And that was where I'm sure all regional fans' minds went to, was thinking of the reasons why their club would be safe, as you would. And I've seen people talking about how what would happen, how they would change if their club ceased to exist. And I've seen some people posting what I felt is that it would be extremely hard to support Team Wales if there was no Scarlets. And it was the WRU who had shut them down. So yeah, very, very unpleasant. Obviously, I've got people from, I'm lucky enough to speak to people from all around the world about rugby, and people asking me what's going to happen, which one's going to go, and things. And yeah, just not fun, at all. Uh, and then reading the WRU statement with its contradictions within itself, of saying, we've been trying to work with you on this since August and you haven't signed it. And then in the next paragraph, they say, of course, everything has changed since August. It's like, yeah, it has. And that's what I said on the last pod. I said the situation with WRU taking over Cardiff changes everything. And then the WRU say that themselves in the statement, but still threatens the regions for not signing it. So I don't get that. And with the vacuum that the WRU always leaves with its communication, or lack of, people fill in the blanks themselves, and you go, well, the WRU knew about the Cardiff situation long before anybody else did. So how long have they been putting a scheme together? And like, when you remember that it's been reported that Black Lion have been in negotiations to join the URC for several months, and you think, hang on a minute, am I putting two and two together and getting five? But it's like the whole thing about, we now can no longer fund four regions equally. Like, yeah, you can. You can divide any number by four. Like, name a number, I'll divide it by four. I can see 16 behind Charlie. 16 divided by 4 is 4. Give me another one. Like, it's not impossible. That whatever budget that you have, you can divide that number by 4 equally. Now, the context that I do feel duty bound to add, out of not transparency, but out of being fair, is that there was an unequal funding model in Wales previously, pre-COVID, when we were messing around with the Elite 38 and stuff and other things that never worked. And we benefited from that. We were the highest funded region from the WRU pre-COVID, and that was based off of us winning the Pro 12. And the idea was that it was performance related, and you would agree with the WRU what goals were, and then receive your funding off the back of that. It clearly never worked, but there was that in the past. So it's not, having an unequal funding model isn't new, and we have benefited from one in the past. But we're obviously in a different place in time now. So yeah, it's just confusing and infuriating, and I'm angry at the WRU, especially because something no one's talking about is the women's team tender stuff. They got rid of the 2 Celtic Challenge teams and then asked the regions to take over running them, and now they're talking about getting rid of one region. It's like, oh well, clearly you don't, as we knew anyway, you don't give a toss about the women's game. And without going on a whole separate rant, I'm just extremely angry at the journalism around rugby that we have to put up with in Wales, which is damaging to the sport, in my opinion.
Yeah, that is a major point. I mean, I don't think the word, or even anything related to positivity, or even being neutral, is something that a lot of journalists are even capable of. I mean, to say the word destabilizing has been thrown around a lot, it has, because let's be honest, they leaked this to the media on a Saturday night when they knew all 4 regions, a load of staff alongside them, were in South Africa. Never mind not being in the same country, they were on a different continent. So it's just what a sort of move to make. Charlie, here we go, but dig in.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a real roller coaster of emotions for all of us Scarlets fans. For me personally, I came through the ranks at London Welsh, and I saw those guys, get taken down all the leagues for their own financial issues. And it's, exactly, Mike. It's completely destabilizing. the whole premise is around building a strategy for all of Welsh rugby. The strategy itself is called, One Wales, right? And, you can't achieve that by
1+1 Wales now.
Well, or 1+1 or 3+1 or whatever. You can't have that on a system based on throwing press releases at each other in the public domain. You got to get in a room, get around a table, have some dialogue. That's where the trust ultimately is built and where actual real strategy is agreed and worked out. And my understanding is that a lot of that hasn't really been forthcoming from the union. I was actually in the JSG meeting with Abby Tierney only on the 30th of April, where she said that the commitment was to 4 teams. What has changed in that time that hasn't been communicated to the Scarlets and the Ospreys as well? When we should be, as fans, celebrating and talking about how we've got into, the Champions Cup, and we're the only Welsh side in it next year. There was no Welsh side in it this year. These are, talking about, Joe Roberts and all these guys that we have been doing today. That's what we should all be celebrating, rather than writing another chapter of, the doom and gloom story of Welsh rugby. It's just really tragic, and there's a lot of stuff that's still to play out, and 24 hours is a long time in Welsh rugby, and I just encourage all of our fans to follow us, follow Crease 16, sign up, membership's free, and you'll get updates, and we can be your voice in these discussions as well. And it's just really disappointing. Just really disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, we could spend the next hour really going through why this has happened, what's led to it, but it all ultimately does come down to that trust that you spoke about, being able to sit into a room with the WRU and actually come out with an agreement within a reasonable amount of time. Because let's look at the history with any sort of PRA that's been signed. It's taken years, not couple months or even 6 months or more. It takes years to get this right, and it's not as if it's ever the region's demanding extras of the WRU. It tends to be you can't do that. Like the same with you want to decide who our head coach is, you want to decide do our shortlist or well, that's not how businesses work. Yes, there is that centralized aspect to it of the central funding. The ways, okay, we are reliant on each other, but you can't dictate to a business what they do when, let's face it, vast majority of the WRU's income comes from the men's game, and they only have players because of us. You may as well just shut up shop and let England develop all the players then, if that's the sort of attitude you're going to take. And I know some people actually wouldn't mind that, because we see it with the women's game, and you see the results for the Welsh national women. Sorry to have a dig at them. I really don't mean to. Amazing things they're doing there. They play. Really enjoying what Sean's and the boys are doing there, and the girls. Sorry, I got to get that right. Don't want to drag this on too long. So does anyone have any closing remarks on the PRA saga that is?
I mean, look, we were asking for clarity on some fairly significant points, which was only fair for us to do so. And until we've got clarity on those points and the union have come back with us, I thought the press release was quite interesting. The way I interpreted it was that they were almost suggesting they were inviting the regions to come up with a plan to move forward. Well, they're the governing body, they're the union. They should be working out the strategy in consultation, and collaboration is the key word in all of this, which unfortunately in Welsh rugby we've not really had that much of in our history. But yeah, I'm still hopeful that something can be worked out and our great team can continue to flourish and produce great players for the national team, which we've done for a very long time, and arguably more so than any of the other regions as well.
Yeah. Okay, I think that cuts out. So is it time to get on to the best part of the show. Admittedly, a very shortened version of the best part of the show.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay,
Let's
I was going to ask Huw, but Charlie's come in. Charlie has taken over Huw's job. Okay, it is time for the community section. No sexy spreadsheet on your screen this week. There just seriously isn't enough games to the point that I'm going down to under 12s to try and give us a little bit of content for this one. So obviously the national leagues, they're all finished. All the cups are finished. Super Rugby Company finished this past weekend. You know, the premier competition in Welsh domestic rugby. What a weekend to drop that sort of announcement on top of them. Where does that leave that sort of development? Okay, so just the 3 men's game in our area to really discuss. So we had the West Wales Cup final, which is, for anyone that knows how, I would imagine a lot of you should know how it's done. You get something like your 3 first home and away results of the season. You're in leagues with everyone, you know, I think it's like Premiership, Champ, and Division 1 is in one section. And, you know, you just split it up like that. So there's loads of you in there, and whatever your first 3 home and away results are, that's where you end up on the table. The final came down to M and Huw against Glynneath. And I'm very happy to say that M and Huw picked up the cup 34-12 with a certain Tian Sparrow getting across the try line. So, you know, great to see that boy's name playing rugby. Obviously, done great things with the under-18s. He's had an illness that he's had to fight through. He's managed to make an appearance with the Drovers and obviously a few with M and Huw as well. Hopefully, we get to see him more with Llandovery or even Quins. You never know where they might reallocate him next season. So happy with that one. Then we had Scarlets Cup final day. I say final day, weekend. Weekend long. We had youth games. We had second 15 games. We had age grade games. It was awesome. So I'll go in descending order, oldest to younger. So both men's games were second. So I think it's the AJT Recycling Cup is sponsored as. So Bury Port managed to secure a 36-23 win over Carmarthen Athletic Druids. Well done, the Blacks. In the plate, then, Vellinvol with a 37-0 win over Trimsaran. Not a bad way to finish out your season. Obviously, Trimsaran seconds, very gutted, but you first have been promoted. You know, you can't be too sad. You really can't. Into the youth then. So these games were the winners of the Carmarthenshire Cup against the Pembrokeshire Cup and the Carmarthenshire Plate against the Pems Plate. So we had Llandilo reigning WRU Cup champions and Carmarthenshire Cup champions twice over against Haverfordwest, obviously champions of the Pembrokeshire Cup. 28-5 to Llandilo. I haven't got the result from this cup final last season, but I'm banking on Llandilo have won that as well. It'd be absurd to think they didn't. Then in the plate, it was Tenby winning 29-22 against Lampeter. So now we're going into the lower age grade. So there was a nice community final game on Park. So it's great that these boys are playing on the pitch. That's the main thing. You know, we scarcely get to touch or even feel the pitch. You know, we got to wait for that last game of the season to get a chance. These boys actually play on it along with all their tag friends when they were younger. I'm not jealous at all. So under 16s, Tenby 42-38 winners against Army United. Key to remember, under 16, so that's 30-minute halves, 80 points in a 60-minute game. That takes some doing. Under 15s, Bury Port 50, Aberaeron 19. Under 14s, Llanelli Wanderers 28, Fishguard 19. Come on, Wands. Under 13s, Carmarthen Athletic 47, Pembroke 17. And to round it off, as we started, under 12s, M and Huw 22, Haverfordwest 0. That does round us out, but, you know, what a great day that must have been for everyone. And it's a great weekend. It's a great initiative having these games at the park. I like it. I certainly wish I could have been there. I definitely would have been one of the most animated people doing every single one of the games. So I think I already know the answer to this, but neither of you were obviously there, were you? No, we all missed out.
No. I was cheering on the Ioan though. I was a great club and was lucky enough to turn out for them a couple of years ago. And gutted that they didn't see it through against Tenby. But yeah, better luck next year.
Yeah, but so obviously, Charlie, we now know you're Man United.
Yeah.
I've got a very, very soft spot for Clechley Wanderers, coaching in their age grade for a while way back when. And Huw is obviously New Dock Stars, and you didn't even have a representation. Boo you, Huw. Boo you. I went really, really wrong. Okay, so next up on our infamous agenda, if I can find it, Scarlets have started doing the end of season awards. So nominations are being, I'm not saying it's a vote for who is going to win player of the season and try of the season. Huw, I am relying on you now. Who has been nominated for player of the season?
Great question, Martin. And I'll tell you now. So we've got 5 nominations for player of the season, and they are as follows. We have number 15, Blair Murray. We have number 2, Marnus van der Merwe. We have number 7, captain Josh McLeod. We have number 5, Sam Lousy. And we have number 9, Gareth Davis. Now, I'll be honest with you, boys. We've obviously, as a podcast, we'll be doing our end of season review and awards and things. And I've been dreading the player of the season award a little bit, to be honest, because I genuinely don't know who it should be. Like last season, it was clearly Alex Craig. And then for this season, I genuinely can't choose between Marnus, Captain Josh, and I think probably Gareth Davis is in there as well. Blair, I think, has gotten better as the season gone on, but I would say he's breakthrough of the year. Not without giving away too many things in the future. But
no, Huw, you're losing yourself points here. You're obviously not a member of Crease, are you? Because Blair Murray has already been awarded the Baz Lewis Breakthrough Player of the Year award. How could you not know this?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Come on, Huw. Come on.
I apologize. I formally submit my apology. But come on. So out of these, first of all, is anyone not in these 5 candidates that you would have nominated?
Henry Thomas.
I'd add Tommy Rogers as well.
I can see both of those. I think Tane Plumtree, one for me, is one who's missed out because I think he had a kind of a dip in the middle of the season, but I think he had a very strong start and a very strong end. And
yeah, I agree.
Most of the players have played well. Obviously Gareth Davis has played the most minutes, I think, and has been
yeah, definitely
has been kind of the one steering the ship for most of the season. I think Marnus has obviously come in and had a revolutionary effect on our set piece, part of the set piece. But I think if you were to get with Henry and Alec Hepburn, I think you have to give it to them together. I think they're a duo.
I can live with that.
And then, but I think it's just that's why I'm kind of on. I'm ultimately thinking Captain Josh, just as a kind of a representative for the whole team. I don't know. Like I said, it's really difficult this season. So that's why I just kind of like a cop out and go for the captain.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a cop out for me. It's got to be Marnus every day of the week. You have no set piece, you have nothing. And he, along with Alec, along with Henry, even, Matthias, Elias, Wainwright, Sam Wainwright, wow. Unsung hero. I'm already putting that name out there already. He's been outstanding. These boys have really stepped. Obviously, those 3 have come in, and the others have really stepped up and matched, and if not, bettered on occasion. They've just worked as such a fine working group, and then alongside Craig, Lousy, Douglas, Fafita, Tane in that line out and scrum. How many of our tries have come off first phase? That doesn't happen without these boys. You've got to start with your bread and butter. So Marnus for me all day long.
But the most set piece tries is Josh.
Yeah, but he's just at the back in all the glory. They were Marnus's tries. He stole all nine of them. Nine. All 9 of them belong to Marnus. He should be in double figures for try this season, and that is why Josh doesn't deserve the vote. He's stolen tries off his teammates. That is not a good captain.
What are you saying, Charlie?
I don't know. When I was a bit dreading seeing this list, and then it came out, and I was like, this is gonna take an evening to ponder, because they've all just been phenomenal this year. I mean, Gareth Davies has been an absolute warrior, playing pretty much every minute of every game. And, Josh, as we were talking about earlier, him being fit has played a huge part in the success we've had this year, in my opinion. Marnus has been an incredible find. And at the breakdown, when he goes over the ball, no one is moving him at all. His darts are spot on. He's a good ball carrier. He's just your real modern all-round hooker, right, in your team. He's been phenomenal signing this year. Sam has really grown into it, more of a leadership role this year, and he's put in some really talismanic performances in some key games for us.
I think he's been. I'm just going to check his. Keep talking. I'm just going to check his game time because I think it's crazy.
Oh, he's not the most, but he's up there.
Yeah, he's definitely up there, and he's really sort of cut out a lot of the discipline issues that he had when he first joined us, and now he's one of the first names on our team sheet without a doubt. And Blair, I mean, I think I'm right in saying he's joint second top scorer in the league now, I think, with 9 odd tries. And, he's been, we talked about him a bit earlier, he's been a phenomenal player. And as a former fullback myself, I'm a bit biased. So I think, he's just really exciting when he's on the ball. And that's what fans want to see, right? And, I'm going to disclose my vote. I did vote for Blair after much thinking. So, but I encourage everyone else to vote. And but there's certainly some other players that should have been on that shortlist as well, but too many to choose from.
Well, we really need to be a medium to long list this year. That's how good so many players have been.
Yeah.
Just Sam Lousy has played every game since round 3 of the URC and averages 70 minutes a game.
That's phenomenal.
So that's 21 games this season. Started 19 games. Literally, I think, Cowdo and Tain, Tain matches him. I think Cowdo's the one that beats him. That's phenomenal stuff, especially for a man of his age as well. We do need to remember he is into his 30s. So that's playing.
Having that gone here.
Sorry. I was just going to say, is there something to be said about last season? Our player of the season was Alex Craig, and then if this season, if it's Marnus van der Merwe, is there something? Is it a worry that our player of the season 2 seasons in a row could be a new signing?
I don't think so, personally. I mean, I think what's great about all those names is there's a good spine of a team there that's been consistent week on week, and I think this year we've done really well with injuries. I know the guys had a really beastly preseason, and they also invest a lot in recovery stuff at the start of the year as well, and that's definitely paid dividends for us because, apart from Sammy being out after the Gloucester game for a few months,
I mean, fractured collarbone. You can't recovery pool that.
Yeah, I mean, him aside, we've not really had any major significant injuries across.
Harry O'Connor is the other one.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. I think Harry's great, got a lot of potential, but I wouldn't have him starting ahead of Henry Thomas and probably Sam Wainwright either. I think we've been really fortunate with our injuries, and that's meant we could build a lot of momentum. And going back to the interview you did with Kelmsley the other day, everyone knows their role and everyone's clear on what they want to do it. And that comes from playing week in, week out with the same players. When you have guys dropping in and dropping out because of injuries or internationals or rest periods or whatever, it just makes that a lot more challenging to manage. And, Dwayne and the coaching staff have, strategically seen that at the end of last year, got the players a lot fitter over the summer, got the prehab and rehab working more effectively, and they've reaped the rewards of that. And with everyone fit, it drives more competition in the squad. Then everyone raises their standard, and the results starting to speak for themselves, really.
Yeah, it has been great. We've seen throughout the year there's been a few partnerships with different, recovery teams. I think there's a few pools, as Huw alluded to, have been. I don't know if they've been installed at the park or we've got unilateral use of them or whatever. But there are the injury gods never leave you alone for too long, and I do have to say, our academy has taken quite a hefty hit this season. I think vast majority have been injured at one point or another. I think Carmarthen Quinn's allocation, they would have regularly 8+ boys in that 23, and I think they were missing something like 6-7 going into the final round. It was just remarkable.
Oh, you missed that in the community game. Llandovery and Carmarthen boys playing for the Dragons in the Bulls.
I mean, I don't know if we class that as a community game, but because it's with a professional arm, isn't it? Do we really? I mean, Jamie has been involved with that. Jamie Hughes drove, as Luke said. He has played a few development and friendly fixtures for us. Lewis Morgan, famously of our academy, I'm sure he's had a senior appearance at least. Oh, I'm really racking my brain, but I'm going to say he's had a senior appearance. But yeah, okay, we'll have a little chat about them now. Obviously, Jamie came on quite early. I think it's on like the 16th minute. So obviously against Bulls, the second best team in the URC, obviously behind the Scarlets. Obviously, the team we will be facing in the final in Pretoria. Book your flights now, or at least pre-book them so they don't go through the roof when it comes to it. Yeah, so obviously he's come on, and if he went on that field, I've been told by Dragons fans themselves they thought it was going to be triple-digit scores. And it was just 55. So that's the impact Jamie had. And then obviously Lewis Morgan, he came on in the 74th minute and he scored in the 75th. I mean, it does beg the question.
So if he'd been on from the start, they'd have won.
Well,
scored 20 tries.
Well, no, let's be fair. So he averaged a try every 6 minutes. So that's what 11. That's at least 12 tries. Before they take him off. Like to have a break. That's a large slog. But yeah, it does beg the question. Because obviously people go on about, do we have enough top end players? I think we do have enough top end players in the country, but it depends on what you class top end. Do you class top end as first 23 for Wales, or do you class top 23 as can perform adequately against other teams? Like, don't get me wrong, I know they're close to whitewash, but you look at the sort of, I don't want to say barriers, but there are so many barriers for the Dragons for winning. Just everything seems set up against them, and obviously winning is a mentality. You know that, and you can 100% say there's no winning mentality in that group. I mean, 2 wins out of 20. How many? 22. That's wow. But anyway, yeah, I think it's fair to say that Llandovery's Jamie Hughes and Carmarthen Quinn's Lewis Morgan, they've done more than themselves proud there. Lewis still quite young. I think he was on our box as early as 2 seasons. Pardon me, early as 2 seasons ago, and Jamie has been knocking down that door to get an opportunity with us fully for a good while. And just look at Wyn Jones, good props, get better with age. That's another someone who played with Llandovery for a while before really cutting his teeth and becoming a Lions legend. And that might be much, but I'm going to stick with that. Okay, back to where the chat was before Huw very politely inserted some great chat for us to discuss. Try of the season. Now, it's going to be hard to name all of these, but I know Hugh's had a look at them.
To watch him.
We haven't got time to watch them all.
We have got time to watch these.
Oh, okay.
Come on. What's our privilege as Scarlets fans to watch these tries back? Come on. We haven't got any try analysis this week, so this is filling in for that. So there's someone here which I'm like, I'd forgotten how good they were, and there's some on here where I'm like, that shouldn't be nominated. But let's have a look now. So share the screen. So first one.
Don't play it yet. So Charles, just honorable mentions, because also we've seen these lists. So just to give people an idea of what type of tries did actually miss out on this one. So Huw, you said one that should have been in there but isn't.
Did I?
Yeah, you said You said something along those lines just now, didn't you?
I can't remember.
Okay, well I'm gonna go.
One that's not on here that I think should be is Tommy Rog against Leinster.
Yeah, that's a good shout. That's a really good shout. For me, it's the Max page from the restart. That's just perfect.
Straight from the kickoff against Cardiff.
Yeah, Beautiful. And Charlie, we've left you to last now, so you've got to really rack your brains by you.
Oh, okay. Wasn't Max Page against Ulster? Wasn't that?
Yeah, the chip
Yeah.
over by Cowdell.
Yeah. They've tried that move quite a few times, and I think they've scored at least twice off it, right? I'm pretty sure I saw Archie trying to do it this
He
weekend,
did. Nearly came off.
but it nearly came off. But I think it was Tommy Rodge, maybe he was running for it. But yeah, there were difficult conditions to run that kind of play. But yeah, some that move has been a real good find for us this year.
Yeah. All right. So first try, audio listeners, strap in, is Gareth Davis against Connacht. So I can hear the audio. So it was a line break led by Johnny Williams. Then we've got Gareth Davis again against Cardiff. This was another, I think, Ioan Lloyd dive and dodge. There you go. Whoa, see you later. Cowdell under the sticks.
That's when they signed him, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So that was kind of okay. This one, Tom Rogers against the Bulls. I'd forgotten that he skinned Kane and Moody as well. Like, that's a good try.
Oh.
I just pause it there. That's a good one.
For me, that's the winner. Classic winger's try, but also Sammy's pass. I mean, how many defenders did he take out with that pass? And he chucked it about 50 meters as well.
Try and watch it again.
It is
absolutely
a thing
incredible.
Of beauty. I can remember, discussing this on the pod. No Sammy, no try. It is amazing.
So it comes back from Johnny. This is what I'm talking about. Plays it close to the line, and it's just so Sammy hasn't caught it there, and it's gone. And it's a long pass. He's got a lot of motion on that, considering he only touched it for about a tenth of a second. And then Curtly Aronson, bye. Kane and Moody, bye.
And the fend as well, just phenomenal score. He had so much left to do, and he made it look easy.
Yeah,
he did, to be fair. And look, I'm with you, Charlie. I think that's got to be there, not just because it's an amazing, try in itself, but that is the try that won us the game. The importance of the try does have to come into it as well if you're really going to cut down the winners from the losers. But
yeah. And we got one from the same game, Blair Murray.
Mentioned this one
again,
earlier.
What we kind of spoke about not giving up, even if you tackled. Fair play to Ioan Lloyd. He's made that happen with the offload. Shrugs off one, still going. Oh my God, he's crossed the try line. And that's how I felt when I watched that. That one was, oh my God, he scored. Like one of those ones. And then on to the next one. This is the soft hands of death from Eddie James to put Max Page away.
Lovely try.
It's so far out. He's got so much to do.
But this is one of the reasons why I like having Page on the bench. You can see that raw pace that he's got, and like we said about small players being unbelievably strong. Max is about 5'10". He is built like a brick shithouse, and he can pump if he wants to. So
you know what? I think he's even shorter than that. To be honest, I think he might be as short as 5'8", but he just plays so instinctively. It's so great to watch, and when he gets into the open field, he's impossible to stop. To be honest, he's unplayable.
Yeah, I mean,
sure. This is a set move. I feel like our try of the season has to be a set move because we're a set move team, and that's just my nerdy way of looking at it. So this is the beautiful pass from Josh McLeod back inside to Cowdell, and then straight to Ellis Mee to run. We'll say it's under the sticks. I think that was his first try for us as well, or second try.
Seems right. Seems to be his first, if I remember probably. I can check, but I don't think we're really going to be.
And then this is the only try in the list which starts with us not having the ball. And I think this is the most Scarletsy try. Blair Murray against the Dragons. It was his first try, says Matt's thumb. So Joe Roberts gets on the end of a turnover. Sammy calls it. It's on, Cowdell. Here we go. Pass out wide. Great work from Tane out the back door. Tom beats
everyone.
3 defenders if you include the one he beat twice. And then straight away from Blair. Great photo of him diving in the air. There's a good few photos from that in the old green flag.
That was very, Wayne Pivac style Scarlets. Transition ball, move it and go. and just ends with a try, as most sexy things in Scarlet do.
Yeah. Next one is, oh no, it's the tap and go of death.
Ioan, next, was this the first
It's
time
fine they
in
scored off
6
this
years?
one though, so we're all
This
good.
is the one where I was like, no, they haven't nominated this. Like this, they tried this move in about the next 6 games and didn't score of any of them. I think, by the way, because Mark, we blasted this move on a pod eventually, and they stopped doing it since. So I think someone's had a word like, boys, we've got to come up with a different tap and go routine. So here we go. So the Marner's looking around, like, ooh, who's going to tap it? Who's going to tap it? Oh, and they all shuffle, the shuffle of death, and then Cowdell goes. Sam Lousy stood at 12, and then Ioan Lloyd just has to pick the runner and Ioan Nicholas over the try line. Oh, very nice. No, I don't like it.
Ioan
Never
to
again, please.
Ioan. Oof. Could see
This
more
is
than next
this
season.
is the one I would pick. This is my try of the season against the Ospreys at home. I think because you have to go back to when the ball started in play. So this is like multi-phase from our own half. And then the sweep. You have to look at these boys around here. Look, the 2 widest players we've got at the start of this move, Alec Hepburn and Henry Thomas, are the 2 wide men. But you've got Ellis, Joe, and Blair wrapping round. Just look at the movement, the moving parts. It's like a choreographed dance. And then wide out pass, and then the basketball offload from Alec, run in from the best centre in Wales. For me, this is my pick of try of the season.
Silence. Just silence.
Well, talking about scoring tries at important moments as well, that I think I'm right in saying that was just after half time as well. So, and it was 17-all at half time, right? So that really set the tone for the second half. I was actually at that game and thought the same thing. I was like, as soon as Alec Hepburn got that ball on the wing, I thought, well, he's going into touch. He's not getting rid of that. And then suddenly Joe Roberts just comes out of nowhere from the crowd and just, touches down. Yeah, great score. Great score.
You never doubt a prop's hands. Terrible.
No, never.
And this one's, I just don't think this one's as good. Like, it's nice. Like, we in this move, Blair Murray effectively ended Leinster as a concept. By completely destroying the New Narber defence, and now everyone's started copying it. But yeah, Joe Roberts, another easy running in the corner. Celebrates early, which I rate.
Do we need to say Northampton owes a bit?
What? Huh?
Well, we showed them how to beat the machine.
Yeah, I do. So there's the nomination. So like I said, I'd go for the try by Joe Roberts against the Ospreys. I can see why people would go for Tommy Rodge skinning 2 Springbok wingers in the same move, but
some of us have standards, is what he was trying to say. Okay, so we have had a bit of news, positive news this week. We've made a new sign-in. So now, and Ioan Jones, England under-20s fullback, Welsh qualified, obviously. Ioan Jones, as Huw is probably going to have a little rant about now. Come from Gloucester. He's had a handful of Premiership games. I need to say I'm not 100% sure of those starts. Also, he played a good bit of Prem Rugby Cup. Let's share the feelings out. Huw, come on, you've got something prepared-ish for this.
Have I?
Oh, you said you had feelings about it.
Well, only that how is a man called Ioan Jones played for England? Like, he must have stuck out like a sore thumb. And yeah, he said in his like statement, like, oh, Dwayne Peel has more than convinced me that the Scarlets is the right place for me. I think Dwayne Peel's sales pitch was like, our entire backline gets picked for Wales, right? And he's gone, really? Oh, okay, I'll come and play for you then. So I think that's as simple as it was. Don't know tons about him. I haven't even had a look at his thingy or rugby yet, so I'll have a look now. But look, my initial reaction was, why do we need another fullback? We've got loads. Yeah. But then I thought about it and I thought, well, Ioan Lloyd's probably a fullback cover. He's going. We've lost Steph Evans. He was a back 3 cover. He's going. And then are they thinking Ioan Nicholas, utility back? Is it our intent to have you in the first team regularly next season. Don't know. So it's still an area of strength. We've still got Tommy Lewis and Jack Davis, particularly, as the two names that spring to mind of guys who are playing incredible rugby, just can't get into the team. So I also suspect that this Ioan Jones is probably a player of national interest. So there's maybe been a bit of a nudge when we had a functional relationship with the WRU of them saying, give this boy a home.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, as always, you reserve judgment until he's played a game.
Yeah, I think I think we all kind of had a very similar first reaction. Another fallback, and so this takes if it was this does take our with the senior academy intake, this takes our back three players into double digits next season, and you're trying to think, is there really room? But obviously, short term, it does look a bit clustered, especially when you want these boys to be hopefully playing regularly with Llandovery and Quins as well. That's 9 spots plus event. Then you take it does, add up. How many of these do you want? And if you look at the fullbacks, obviously, I'm assuming Ioan does play on the wing as well, as most fullbacks do. We've obviously Blair's currently our fullback. Whether or not he stays there, I think, is still a question. Obviously, Tommy Rog, he's probably be seen by most as our real 15 who we kind of thought would be in the shirt right now. Ellis Me obviously played a lot of 15 with Northampton. Tommy Lewis even plays loads of 15. And then even if we drop down, obviously Jack Davis, you already mentioned, this boy, he must be scratching his head because, he's had a couple of games this season. He had a start as well during the Six Nations, which, great for him. But, he must have been thinking, why did we sign Blair and Ellis? I would have been in that bloody back three if it wasn't for those two. And then obviously we got Yori Badham that's currently injured. And then you add Ioan Jones into it. So, it does make you sort of scratch your head at why we're doing this right now. But, I think it does make sense when we look at a bigger picture. Some boys are not going to be here forever. A lot of academy boys don't work out, which is the sad reality of it. We need to get a lot better at turning academy players into full-time professionals for a good proportion of their lives. 8 years would be beautiful if that was at a minimum. So yeah, got no complaints. It's going to be interesting to see where he ends up, as in, does he come behind Jack Davis? Does he come in front of him? Because I think that is probably the biggest question for me right now. Jack has been playing absolutely tremendously, been cutting teams open for fun. And he's not just this season, he was doing it last year as well, really pushing for that spot. And we're bringing in some guy. Yeah, it's a tough balance. Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, like a big welcome to Ioan to Parker Scarlets. It's quite an embarrassment of riches we've got in the back three now, and I think there's some fairly good consensus that our best back three is probably Ellis, Blair, and Tom. In which order is perhaps up for a bit more debate. And then I guess it's just a case of who's sitting behind those guys, and injuries will come into play. I think he's definitely been assigned as more of a longer term prospect, so it'll be good to see him get some SRC action next year, see how he performs there. But no, yeah, certainly from the highlights reel I've seen, which isn't always the best indicator, obviously, but from the highlights I've seen, he looks like a really tidy player, and yeah, I think he could definitely add some more attacking threat to our already ridiculous backline.
Yeah. So that brings us on to our final piece. We have a league knockout game against Leinster away. Does anyone remember a league knockout game away to Leinster? The first round of a knockout that might stick in your head at all. Anyone?
I've got one.
Just oh no, we have
Here we go.
highlights.
Glory days.
So for audio listeners, we're watching highlights of us beating Leinster away with 14 men in the RDS in 2017, playing the greatest rugby that club rugby has ever seen. But completely unplayable John Fox cheat code. How could any team lose when they had him in the team? Spoiler alert, they didn't. So obviously, first try Steph Evans while he was still on the pitch. I still don't really understand how we score. Like, how did this line break manifest? Because I think it was John Fox beat two men, and then it was just a try. Then you've got swinging the other way. Look, the thing about this, look, we're on the back foot. We're going backwards. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
But it's Shings, mate. Come on.
Leinster players. And then Shings just goes, I know, I'll just run it up the middle. And then Cowdell gets the ball back to him. Look who Aaron Shingler is handing off here to score the try. Can you tell who it is yet?
Is that British and Irish line Jameson Gibson Park?
It is indeed.
Wow.
Nobody at the time.
An absolute nobody at the time. Johnny McNichol, nominated for Super Rugby Player of the Week this week, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that.
Player of the decade, I heard, and last decade.
Boo, see you later. No one will have heard of you in 2 years. Right. And then, so Steph Evans again standing in at first receiver. We haven't hit the half-hour mark yet. Try number 3. Now Scott going up the middle, gets the ball to Cubby. Lovely offload to Steph again. How does Steph even get round there? And then Cowdell over the line. And this is Scarlets 21-10 up.
Basically done then, we got nothing left to do at that point. We think, how do we make this game interesting?
Sorry, we're just watching the red card now. Is this a red card? What do you reckon?
I mean, well, obviously it was rescinded, so no, it's not a red card.
It was away in Dublin as well, which you have to factor in.
It's the Samson element that, I think Samson does a lot more worse than Steph does with it, to be totally honest. And I thought the same at the time.
I think it's unfortunate because it's not like he's deliberately lifted him in something. There's 3 bodies coming together there, and something unfortunate's happened. Oh, we know that the red card did get rescinded eventually. We were only 21-10 up at this moment, 3 minutes before half time, and we jumped ahead to the 69th nice minute, and it's 21-5. So Leinster have only scored 5 points in that time. Sanjay kicking for post, which he does more than people realise.
Well, yeah, he can do a couple of things.
A long way out as well, to be fair.
On an angle.
Textbook. Absolute textbook.
Did Cubby play wing in this game after Steph went off?
I don't think he played wing. I think he might have just been out there because that's what he did. Him and John Barkley, they like playing on the fringes.
I mean, he played everywhere that season, didn't he? He was having a phenomenal year.
Ty Byrne in the blue scrum cap there, winning the penalty.
Yeah,
who's that? Who's that? He's coming in a second. Oh, don't let me down. Come on. Number 8. British and Irish line, Jack Conan.
I mean,
I think this is Josh van der Fleer as well, number 7.
Yeah, must be.
These are really average players, you know what I mean? It just, of course, we walked over them with 14 men. It just happens. But no, I think
this is Sean Cronin playing number 16. Those are the days. Oh, textbook strict from Scotty. That is a yellow card offence. Sanjay again steps up.
I think you've pointed out a pretty good point by here. You've just named 3 brilliant players who were really unknowns, unproven to a certain extent 8 years ago, and now they are pretty much top of the game. So it pays dividends to trust players, to give them a chance, to spend more than 1 or 2 seasons with them to help the development. Because, like we all know, not everyone hits it off first time. People bounce between academies. People don't even get into academies at the first try. Sometimes, people miss out on professional contracts. They come back into the game. It shows that players are never quite the finished article, and you can't just throw them away because you think, oh, they're not good there right now and they're not quite showing what we need. I mean, like I know there's a lot of talk about players. It's normally forwards, front five forwards in our regards thing. Oh, then they're not doing enough. They're not kicking on. They're still kids in the grand scheme of things. I'm talking like someone like Jack Price, who seems to get a lot of stick online, unjustly. I mean, he's 24 years old. A lot of locks would only be playing their first season.
Yeah. So as I've proven, we're going to beat Leinster.
Yeah, I think that's the obvious one. We're obviously going out to the Aviva this time. That was the RDS, wasn't it?
Yeah, they wouldn't let us play in the RDS again. Not after that.
No, scared. Of course they're scared. So yeah, I mean, so where I've got it is it's completely messed up now because I had my rounds wrong. I had the quarterfinals and the semi-finals mixed up, obviously. So obviously it's quarterfinals Leinster now and semi-finals Glasgow.
So let's see if I can find the route and then we can chat about it. So hang on. No, keep talking. It's going to take me a second to find this.
So yeah, so we're obviously beating Leinster because it's Leinster. Who doesn't beat Leinster in a semi-final? And
Quarterfinal.
Quarterfinal, semi, all the same. I'm too stuck on 2017. You've taken me back in time. Yeah, I mean Leinster, they're not very good at finishing off opportunities, especially these last few years. Be Christ. And then it's on to Glasgow in the semi. We got a bit of justice to hand out there. And then the final is, oh, you know what?
Away to Munster or Edinburgh.
No, Edinburgh. I reckon so we can have Glasgow and Edinburgh just for fun. I don't want to face Tag in a final. I think that's my reasons. I don't want to face Tag.
Yeah, I agree.
He agrees. Do we have any closing business, my friend? No, we are fast approaching the 90-minute mark. Thank you all for putting up with us. Please like, share, subscribe. You know what to do. Leave a review. As long as it's 5 stars, you can slag us off. I really don't care. Only joking. Be nice, be friendly. Comment. We love a chat. Thank you, Charlie, for joining us in your one and only appearance. Only joking.
Thanks for having me on the show, guys.
I'll be back anytime, my friend. And until we do this all again, bye for now.
No star.
No star.